Hey, welcome to the Pierce Manse located in Concord, New Hampshire, which is maintained by the Pierce Brigade. Today, we're going to take a look inside the home of our 14th president, Franklin Pierce.
So join us for another lesson on the road.
In 1842, future President Franklin Pierce purchased this home, which was located on Montgomery Street in New Hampshire's capital of Concord. He, his wife Jane, and their two sons moved into the home, which was conveniently located between Franklin's law offices and the State House. Unfortunately, a year later, young Frankie Pierce, their son, contracted typhus and passed away in one of the upstairs bedrooms. This cast a somber atmosphere over the entire house. When Franklin returned from the Mexican War, they sold this home and moved into a rented house on South Main Street. For over 100 years, this home sat unnoticed without anybody realizing its historical significance. It changed hands multiple times and at one point was even a 4-unit apartment building. Then in the 1960s, when there was a lot of urban revitalization going on and a lot of older homes were being destroyed, the Pierce Brigade, a group of concerned citizens here in Concord, got together to save the only house that Franklin Pierce had ever owned. By 1971, the Pierce Brigade gained ownership of the Pierce Manse.
In April of 1971, this entire house was moved from its downtown Concord location to where it sits today. That sight must have been an amazing thing to see. Imagine this 2-story house lifted and put on the back of a flatbed truck rolling down Main Street. Crowds of people gathering in as technicians made sure that wires didn't get hung up on its roof. Finally, at the end of the move, the house was set down on its pre-made foundation right next to this beautiful horseshoe pond. During the restoration process, workers uncovered a real gem history of this place in the form of this kitchen fireplace. The fireplace had actually been walled over for decades. What made this process even sweeter was the discovery of the original cast iron doors and mantle that were found in the attic when the house was moved. So some of the artifacts here that showcase life in the mid to late 1800s are displayed here at the kitchen fireplace. And two of them that I found interesting were the toe toaster, which is down here to my left. How it would work is you put your bread in the toaster and put it near the fire. And the toast will be toasted with radiant heat. If you remember, kids, from science class, radiant heat happens in every direction from a fire. And we know it's radiant heat because the toast isn't in the fire or above the fire, it's just near the fire. And when the one side of your toast got browned, you'd use your toe, rotate the toast 180 degrees, and then brown the other side. The other artifact that I found really interesting is this policeman's lantern. When you open it up here, there's a small well for oil, presumably whale oil. And when you close this door, this glass lens magnifies that single light. And if you wanted to extinguish the light or just make it a little bit dimmer, you'd rotate this lever down here and start closing off some of the light to make it either dim or presumably go out. We'll add that when you come to the Pierce Manse, enjoy the artifacts, but please do not touch them. We gain special permission.
Just off the kitchen is this small little area at the Pierce Manse called the campaign room. And this room features a lot of artifacts from Franklin Pierce's 1852 campaign for the presidency. You'll see things like campaign tokens, which were like the precursor to today's bumper stickers or campaign buttons. You'll see his hat box, his walking stick. And most interesting to me is a campaign book that was written about Franklin Pierce by his best friend and author, Nathaniel Hawthorne. Franklin Pierce wins the 1852 election against Whig candidate and fellow Mexican War General Winfield Scott. Franklin Pierce won 254 electoral votes, winning 27 out of 31 states in a landslide. His one term as presidency is often overshadowed, however, by the Kansas-Nebraska Act and the fallout that happened afterwards. But Franklin Pierce actually had a lot of positive accomplishments also. He opened up trade relations with Japan, he improved relations with Great Britain and with Canada, he expanded our borders with the Gadsden Purchase, and he modernized our Army and Navy.
We have to take a short pause from Franklin Pierce Manse to introduce our sponsor.
Bobblehead George is completely stoked to partner with Rockmill Industries out of Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania.
Rockmill is where we get our hats, shirts, and sweatshirts, and we're here with the man himself, the owner of Rockmill.
Hey everybody, Logan Summy here with Rockmill Industries in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. We do screen printing and embroidery of all different types. Head to the website now, rockmillinc.com with a K, type in discount code Bobblehead for a 5% discount on the next order.
Or you can go to bobbleheadgeorge.org and you can find our merch store there. Now back to the manse. Welcome to the parlor here at Franklin Pierce's Manse, and this bright, warm, welcoming room has a lot of historical significance. There are 3 pieces on display in this room that Franklin Pierce took with him to the White House as he served for president from 1853 to 1857. One is the sofa on my right, the table directly behind me, and the writing desk just beyond that. Also on display in this room is the 1824 graduation program from Bowdoin College, where Franklin Pierce graduated 3rd in his class after a slow start. There is a portrait of Franklin's father, Benjamin Pierce, to my left. He was a Revolutionary War hero and governor of New Hampshire. Interestingly enough, that while the father, Benjamin, was the governor of New Hampshire, the son, Franklin, at age 26, was the Speaker of the House of the state of New Hampshire, which probably made for some really interesting dinner table conversation.
This is Franklin and Jane's dining room. There's a couple noteworthy things about the dining room. First off, the restored fireplace, which is beautiful. And in the corner behind me is a secretary desk that was used by Franklin in his law office. The desk contains books that are either owned by him or relate to him. The desk also has kind of an interesting feature that you don't find on a lot of desks today. There's 2 pull tabs on the other side that you'd pull out, and that's what the writing surface would fold down and rest on. Behind me is a table with a set of replica White House dishes on them that would have been owned by Pierce. In the middle of the table is a cake dish that was actually owned by Jane Pierce herself. And in the far corner is a closet, and in the closet are some really neat pieces of china, as well as a sample of the original wallpaper that could be found in the dining room.
Also here in the dining room at the Pierce Manse, on display in this chest next to me, is some silverware that belonged to Franklin Pierce and has his name engraved on them. You will also find teaspoons and a knife that belonged to his wife Jane, a change purse that was gifted to Salmon Chase by Franklin Pierce when he was president. And you also see replicas of his presidential peace medals. On the wall next to me is a lithograph of George Washington that was presented to Franklin Pierce in the 1850s when he donated $50 to the building of the new Washington Monument in Washington, D.C. That $50 in the 1850s would be approximately $1,800 in today's money. This upstairs room in a Pierce Manse was used as a guest bedroom and has a lot of things to indicate that it was, such as the luggage at the foot of the bed, the chamber pot next to it, and the washstand on the other side. This room also features portraits of Queen Victoria of England and Tsar Nicholas I of Russia. But what strikes you when you walk into this room are the many images and memories of Benny Pierce. Benny Pierce was the youngest son of Jane and Franklin Pierce, and at just age 11 in January of 1853, while the family was traveling from Andover, Massachusetts to Concord, New Hampshire on a train, the train inexplicably derailed. Young Benny was killed instantly right in front of his parents' eyes, casting a sadness over the Pierce presidency.
This is Franklin and Jane's bedroom. Sadly, it's also known as the room where 4-year-old Frankie died of typhus. He actually died in this bed. Over my shoulder is a portrait of Frankie, and you can tell by the subtle watercolor hues of the painting, the artist is trying to convey the sadness of his death. There are other things to know about this room, however. To my right is a quilt chest, and inside, on the underside of the lid, is the Franklin Pierce family crest, which part of it is used as the crest of Franklin Pierce University. On the stand behind me is a travel shave kit that was owned by Franklin Pierce, because you gotta look good even when you're traveling. And to my right, beside the bed, is a sort of holder attached to the wall, and it's something I've personally never seen in any of the historic houses I've been in. And if you think you know what this holder is used for, or was used for, pause the video and comment below. I'll wait. Okay, now that you've commented below, I'll tell you what it's for. If you've ever been to New England, you know that the winters here get cold. And when it gets cold, you seek refuge in a warm place. Or so do our furry, fuzzy friends, the mice. And nothing is better than curling up beside a warm slipper for mice. Great for mice, bad for you. So the holder on the wall is a slipper rack. You go to bed, take your slippers off, put them in the rack to keep them away from the rodents who would love to make a home in your slippers. Thank you for joining us for another lesson on the road.
So next time you're out and about and you're looking to do something a little historical
A bit scientific.
and just all around nerdy, come check out the Pierce Manse in Concord, New Hampshire, and everything that this amazing area has to offer. That's Mr. Graham,
That's Mr. Raymond.
and we'll see you next time. Man, I bet that house was heavy to lift.
It was a truckload. Behind me is a dining.
The other two, wait, okay, I gotta start over because now I'm just like,
During the restoration project, process. Words are hard. There's too many words to where it sits now. Now I messed it up. Hold on. Son of a gun. That guy. He's always right.
future President Franklin Pierce purchased this house on Montgomery Street. There is a painting of Benjamin Franklin. There is a Pierce. There is a painting of Franklin's.
Some of the artifacts here that display life in the mid to late 1800s. Words are hard. Words are hard. Okay.
Interesting fact that I just learned is that while Governor Benjamin Pierce, oh my God, now I just got word salad going on. Okay.